Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for our panel series webinar. I'm Christy Perez. I'm the Partner Success Manager here at Cognition360. We have three wonderful MSPs today to share some of just what they know about cognition, but also just general MSP information that's kind of current events. We also have Bjorn Zreloff with us as our moderator today. And we are going to be talking about how they're mining gold from their ConnectWise data. Let me give them an introduction. So I have Bjorn with Vendella.
Hey, morning.
Hi. Dennis Ciabatoni from Alliance InfoSystems, Pete Sholts from Applied Tech, and Perry Carfagna from Perry proTECH. So thank you all so much for joining us today. Super excited to have you. Also wanted to make sure that you saw that we have a special offer for everybody who did attend today. We are giving 50% off of onboarding and 2 free months of Cognition Live. So if you're interested in that special offer, all you have to do is just send me an email at christy.perez@cognition360.com. Let me know, hey, I would like the information on the offer, and I'll get that over to you. You do have to make sure you're signed up for the cognition reporting by May 31st. Also, we will have our Q&A and chat open. So feel free to put any information in the chat, Q&A. We are going to save some information, some time at the end to be able to go through those questions that you have. At this time, I am going to turn it over to, I'm going to stop sharing, and now I'm going to turn this over to Bjorn. And Bjorn, you can take it away. Get started.
Thank you, Christy. I'm grateful to be here with you, with the attendees and our panelists, who we had a chance to meet and chat a little bit last week in preparation for this, and that was really interesting, as always, to sit around and chat with other MSP folks that have been in the industry for a bit. And we could probably be here for a few hours, but one of my jobs is to try to keep us to around 30 minutes. And Christy, you can help me out with that as well.
Will do.
Thank you. But yeah, so the focus of our conversation today, what we thought would be useful and valuable for you all listening now and maybe in the future is what value you're getting out of Cognition360. And specifically the ConnectWise data. How is Cognition360 serving up that data in a way that's more useful than what you've done in the past and what you've been able to do in the past. So thank you all for being here, and thanks for letting me moderate. And we'll start with some introductions just to give you a little bit of background. This is going to be very conversational, hopefully, but with a little bit of structure. But Dennis, if you wouldn't mind, just give us a little bit of an intro of you and your company. And maybe weave in there how long you've been using Cognition360 and why you chose Cognition360 in the first place.
All right, thanks, Bjorn, for joining. So we have, I just messed up the name, I'm sorry about that. So we are an MSP. We started in 2004. My company is Alliance InfoSystems. We service, just whole different types of verticals. I needed to move over to Cognition360. Once I saw it, I fell in love with it immediately because I needed more trending data. I needed more year-over-year data that could really give me more just a visual into how my service department is actually running, as opposed to seeing how many tickets are open, closed. I needed to see more metrics and more KPIs to make better just decisions on hiring, things like that. So.
Perfect. And so clarify your role right now, currently at your MSP.
I am the Director of Technical Services there. I oversee about 25 resources, and I have 2 service managers that report to me. 2
service managers report. That's what I remember. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for kicking that off. I appreciate it. And we'll come back to you, Dennis. So don't get too comfortable. Pete, do you mind taking the baton and give us a quick intro
Yeah, so Pete Sholts, VP of Operations here at Applied Tech. We are MSP, been so since 99, so been around the block a couple of times, and done the trunk slamming and everything that we get to here today. I've been with the organization about 8 years. We're, I guess, to Dennis's point, we're about 60 people on the technical team today, between professional services, technical services, and others, heavy in the M&A kind of activity too. I know we want to talk a little bit about that, but we've been on Cognition, the platform, for about 6 months, and what really led me here was I think we joked about it when we talked a week ago. I measure good days by the days I don't have to log into a system, right? So being able to just stay in my email client, my web browser, and use Cognition360 for data visualization has been just absolutely amazing, because I have ADD, so getting into managing and jumping between tickets and agreements, and it's a you can get distracted pretty easily. So it's helped from staying on point.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up one of my favorite acronyms, ADD. Whether it's learned ADD or wired ADD, I think we in the IT industry, I'm going to throw all of us under the bus. We in the IT industry suffer from collective ADD, in my opinion. So that's awesome. I'm glad you brought that up. Thanks, Pete. I'm glad you're here. Perry, last but not least, if you don't mind doing the same.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Perry Carfagna, I'm the president of Technology Division at Perry proTECH. That encompasses our managed services business, our project-based business with product resale, as well as our physical security business. So Cognition was an important step for us, just purely for data mining, getting more information. I really think I may be a level above what I'm looking for than Dennis and Pete. I think they could be drilling down a little deeper into things than I am, but I'm looking for kind of that high level view of all three lines of our business, and again, kind of leverage it for decision making and analytics. And it helps a ton with some projects and things that we're working on a daily basis to really start to, when we need to drill down, just make that drill down capability a lot easier.
Yeah, you reminded me of something you said earlier, or last week, I should say, not logging in, but you also said something last week, and I'll paraphrase, I won't quote you, something about flying blind, right? And before, am I correct, or is my memory serving me correctly, that before Cognition360, you felt like you were flying blindly?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's kind of looking at managing across sales, service, and support for 3 different lines of business. And again, that we have a great team. We have some good products that allow us to do some decent decision making, but I do feel that we were flying blind in a lot of places. We made a lot of decisions on gut feel. I mean, knock on wood, we made the right decisions, but let's just make sure that we know day in and day out that we're making the right decision, again, across kind of sales, support, and service.
No, that's the fact that you're using it across all departments, the fact that you're able to sleep a little bit better, hopefully, because it's not just your gut telling you, it's some data that you can rely on. Yeah, no, thanks. I'm glad you're here, Perry. Thanks for kicking that off. And so I'll circle back to Dennis. You touched on it last week when we chatted in the preparation, and we can kind of weave in what your intro was too. But it's the old saying, you can't manage what you don't measure, right? Peter Drucker, I think, is quoted or attributed to that, so we attribute it to. But it's something we say in organizations, right, all the time. And it seems like the more mature you want to be as an organization, or the maturity ladder that we're trying to climb, OML, you said you mentioned that you've been working, you have 25 people that report into you and 2 service managers. But one thing I don't think you said this morning was you've been managing them remotely for 4 years before it became, an acronym that we all use today, right? WFH, which always makes me want to say something else. But, so how, given all that, how does Cognition help you in that effort, managing people specifically remotely? If you wouldn't mind touching on that.
Yeah, so the phrase I like to use more than the acronym is I did it before it was cool, right? Before everybody started doing it, right? So I've been managing these guys for about 4 years now, and there's a lot of things in place where I don't have a lot of the visual. I don't see, if there are techs goofing off or, things like that. So I can't, I can have the gut feeling, but what Cognition360 has really helped me with was to really actually see the utilization, seeing the efficiency of these techs, how many tickets are putting in, versus the utilization of, are they being utilized, at that percentage. So it has really helped me not fly as blind, quote unquote. So
yeah. And one thing that kind of a follow-up to that was, I think you said that it's helped you staff better. Is there something that Cognition showed you that previous tools you've used or previous method? So why Cognition? Why is that different?
One thing that was incredibly enlightening was when I started seeing, so everybody wants to gauge how many, how busy a tech is just by how many tickets they're closing, right? And I don't really think that is a really good measure. It is it's a good measure to see. It's a good number to see, but when you compare that to utilization, right? So basically, what I took was, for example, I had one tech that her board was completely filled, 8 to 5, all these blocks, right? And I'm seeing them at 30-minute blocks as dispatcher would schedule that. And then I'm seeing her ticket count, pretty high, right? But I'm seeing her utilization really low. So that actually was alarming to me. I'm like, well, let me dig into this a little bit more. Let's see how on average, how long she's spending on these tickets, right? And on average, they're about 10 minutes. So ticket count was high, but your utilization was ultimately low. So we kind of adjusted, pivoted, and allowed, okay, let's schedule more tickets. She's cranking these out. So.
Right. Perfect. No, that's a great, in the weeds example, right? I appreciate that. Yeah. So I'll shift to you, back to you, Pete. Slightly, a little bit away from the fundamentals of that we all need to focus on, right? And we talked about this last week. The fundamentals don't change, right? I have people are our most valuable and most expensive resources, and we want them to be happy and thriving and feel utilized and feel useful and not get burnt out, and then also and not get bored. There's a happy medium there, right? Part of what you've been experiencing is the growth, right? You've been around the block, like you said earlier, trunk slamming days in '99 to some recent aggressive growth. So how is Cognition360 helping you in this phase of your journey, right?
Yeah, I think it's big. To a little bit of what Dennis said, right? It's getting as much data as you can for your team as quickly as possible to make decisions on what's happening, right? Because we'll acquire an organization and the first thing they say is we're understaffed, right? And if you look at best in class metrics, you're probably overstaffed, right? And we got to figure out kind of where that fine line is. And how do we unlock capacity is kind of what I look to do, right? And to to Dennis's point about seeing how is time being used, how many tickets are being done, where is that at, is huge on that side of it. And then on the flip side, building in a lot of our business logic into more of the agreement profitability and customer profitability. As we get that data loaded in the system, we can make better decisions on, what revenue is good revenue, what do we need to convert, what do we, want to start coming up with, exit strategies for all of those things a lot faster. So, for some of our smaller integrations, we're able to turn them in 90 days, which is a huge feat.
Yeah, no, it is. That's a 90 days. I had a conversation earlier this week that somebody, they integrated in 60 days, and basically that meant that they didn't sleep for those 60 days. Everybody involved. So, yeah, I think that data is useful, but it's only useful as long as you can trust it, and that you can consistently trust it, right? So validation. So I think, yeah, Pete, thanks. Glad for that. Grateful for that information. Perry, we talked about the flying blind earlier, a little bit what you said. Is there a specific example? I know we talked last week about the drillability of some of the data, right? That was unique or something that helped you, I guess. Is there something around the flying blind that and talking about drillability?
Yeah, I think a couple things. One, on the product centric side, we're now able easily to, let's say we have a product that's going out of support, easily drill down into which customers have which models, and those are immediate sales, right? Or I would say those are immediate opportunities,
yeah,
right? Or at least the capability to go in and have a discussion.
Right.
On the agreement side, it really gives us an opportunity to look at our agreements in a way that, again, I've never been able to. I've been here about 4.5 years and never been able to look at to see, is the agreement where we want it in our metric, right? And I don't care what your metric is, your business needs to choose that. And is it because our folks need training? We need to have another discussion with the client. They have older gear that's causing issues, but we can look at it at such a granular level now. And it's a discussion that I have with our director of managed services now weekly. Hey, why is this way? Why is this way? And it could be, hey, it's a one-off, or maybe someone entered time incorrectly. But again, we've never had that very simplistic capability to drill into something so quickly and to get to an answer so quickly. I mean, it would have taken us 4 people in 3 days to get to, hey, this customer has this agreement, and why is it a little off kilter?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up. How much effort did you used to spend to get to the same data that's now, presented right there, and you can just hit refresh, right? Basically, or just, hey, it's literally, I don't think I'm oversimplifying this, but the amount that I've used Cognition360, once you get the data in and you've gotten to that point where you trust the data coming in and you understand it, it literally is presented in such a way. And if it's not presented in such a way that you don't like, or you just need to see it a different way, you can change the filters, right? You can change things and pivot and even create your own queries if you want to, if you have those skills. But that was the other part of it, is that the data set is not just organized, it's presented, there's already a canned report, there's already a canned view, and then you can change the view, right? That's the old, I've been around ConnectWise since 2006. So it's, the frustration of the old reports where you couldn't add or filter or, twist and turn the way you wanted to. So yeah, it's been a huge benefit from the flexibility and drillability perspective. Yeah, so let's kind of pivot back up to you, Dennis, if you don't mind. And one of the things that's been on my mind lately, and has popped up in different scenarios, and the concept of value and the time to, there's the acronym, another acronym, a huge acronym file, but it's TTFV, time to first value. It's a question of, there's a lot of times that you try to make that an objective thing, right, as much as possible. But then there's a subjective, aspect of time to value as well. So, Dennis, I mean, when you think about time to value relative to cognition, and I'll follow my own sort here. I mean, the tendency is to want the tool to be, you purchase the tool, implement the tool, and you want it to fix things right away, and you want to set it and forget it, right? That's kind of, I think, human nature, or at least I'll speak for myself. So I get the shiny object and it's going to make everything better, right? But the reality is, just like with ConnectWise, Manage, with other tools, the reality is there's the total cost of ownership or total cost of investment, right? I have to continue investing in the tool in order to continue getting something out of it, right? It's an analogy for life, right? So Dennis, what specific to cognition do you feel like you're getting the value? And hopefully the answer is yes, but I mean, what was that time? What did it take to get there?
The value, once, you kind of learn each report that, kind of dig into it, see, what the reports mean to you, and, how to really translate that. For me, it was probably, I'm a data geek, and once I start getting a lot, I fall down that rabbit hole, and so it didn't really take me very long to really see some of that value, see where I don't I don't need anybody to bring on board. I don't need to hire somebody. That the numbers actually are telling me I don't need this, right? So that was probably within the first couple months, to be honest with you. Before it was always that to what Perry said, that gut feeling, and probably within the first couple months when I realized, like, no, maybe we need to actually make some internal changes, if anything.
So again, kind of going back to the staffing question, where you either go hire somebody or you don't hire somebody. I mean, that's actually a pretty good dollar figure to come up with, right? Compare that to what you're spending for the tool. That's a way to measure time to value. I'm not saying that's the way, but yeah, that's actually that makes a lot of sense. The potential hire and the cost of that hire. I guess. Pete, you want to take a shot at the same question, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's very much what Dennis said, right? I mean, when we look at the investment case, does it prevent the need to hire that next employee, right? Because that's a very set cost, and there's a lot of hidden costs, right? I mean, it's not just a $60,000 a year salary; it's more like 75 with benefits and everything else, right? And management time, because now you need more team leads, whatever. So if the solution can actually offset that or unlock that capacity, your time to value is actually a lot quicker than most, right? And when you're looking at major tools investments, anything less than a year is I mean, I would sign off on it today, right? So I think for us, specifically with this, I mean, there's so many different ways to unlock value too, right? Whether it's on the capacity side with your team, whether it's agreement profitability. I mean, you turn up one account by $1,000 a month because they were not profitable and you paid for it. You know what I mean? So like there are lots of different ways to kind of reach that, and so that the tool has a lot of different ways to bring value to all of it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up about, if you take one, if you can drill in and focus on, I mean, this is pre-Cognition360, when I was in my MSP, that we would use I don't know, this probably came from our peer group, right? It was, all right, focus on the bottom 5 profitability and really be very cognizant of the bottom 5, right? And why it's happening. If they fall in the first 6 months, we don't even worry about it. That's first 6 months, we're ramping somebody on. That's what we used to say. That doesn't count. So the report was actually filtered, that we did. It's like anybody that's 6 months doesn't even come in this report, right? But after 6 months, we said, okay, now we're expecting this to get trend towards our profitability, target profitability on our agreements. And so I think that what Cognition certainly helps in that example, that old school example, right? Perry, what is there a time to value that you would relate to as far as agreement profitability? I know you mentioned agreement profitability earlier. Is there, time to value there for you?
I'll be honest, it was within the first 30 days because and I wrote some notes down as you were asking me the last question. The other thing I didn't mention was we've also had some capabilities to do some customizable stuff with 360 because we wanted to look at things a little bit different, even on top of the filter capabilities, just the way we wanted, I would just say the way our business operates, mainly on the product-based side, but we've been able to really bring a lot of information in with customizable reports too, but immediate. I mean, there were things that I tried with our current system, simplistic things from a sales perspective, like forecasting projected labor, that we have just struggled with. And it literally was on the phone with Christy and Eamon for 15 minutes, and they're like, it's right here. And like, you guys have no idea how long we've been searching for this. And it's 6 people involved, and that to me is where I say I would almost say it's instantaneous. One, because I don't have to go ask 4 people for data anymore. I mean, it is a very simplistic user interface that if you know what you're looking for and you spend 3 or 4 minutes, you'll find it.
Hey, Bjorn, we've got about 5 minutes left. Just wanted to throw that time out there. Also, everybody that's on, make sure to throw any questions in the chat that you have. We'd love to answer those for you.
Yeah, thanks, Christy. Yeah, absolutely. I've been keeping an eye on the question answering. Hopefully, you guys are out there listening live. Please jump in and pop some questions in there. and we'll do our best to answer them. We'll throw the panelists under the bus first, and then we'll rescue them if we need to. I'm just kidding, no. But yeah, I think what Perry, what you just said about the amount of effort that you used to spend on reporting is also another way to think about time to value, right? Or just ROI is the old term, right? I guess. You know, it's how much time, you know, I'll put this out to Pete, Dennis, and Perry. You guys can probably come off mute, all of you, and you know, is there if you were to on a monthly basis, how much you spent time on the reports, you know, on reporting, and you know, what percentage has it reduced as far as creating the reports, right? Pete, I'll go to you.
Yeah.
You're nodding your head.
Enough that I was trying to justify a data analyst on payroll, right? So I mean, it's, you know, there's service led, there's sales led. I mean, I like to say we're a data led organization, right? Like we don't make a decision without something to back it up that way, and we grow our business that way. So I mean, the number of spreadsheets, right, that we used to have to go through for all of that. And I mean, I know Perry, you mentioned it, right? Like, to build the business logic into the platform the way that we do business and not necessarily have to conform to the logic of the tool was critical for us too, as we started to kind of, you know, map our way through that. It's helped a lot on minimizing the number of data reports and stuff that we've had to pull internally, because we're able to just build the logic into the Power BI piece of it.
So you just brought up Power BI, and David, thank you for your question. And Aquino, I'm going to try your last name. You know, it's a great question. How is this better? This being Cognition3 than what can be built in BrightGauge, Tableau, or Power BI? Why don't we? I think last week when we prepared for this, I don't remember which one of you three answered this, but you know, yes, Power BI is what is a front end to Cognition360. But so what's the value in Cognition3? So how is this better than what we can be built in BrightGauge, Tableau, or Power BI?
I'm going to say that there's room for all of them to a certain extent, right? Honestly, you know, we still have BrightGauge in our tool stack as well. BrightGauge is there for the engineering level, for the client level, for external facing things, right? Because of the nice reporting tools and features and all that. We use Cognition360 at the executive level, right? From a decision-making, data pull, data analytics, all that piece of it. So it's not that one's better than the other. I think they serve different purposes.
Dennis, you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I can talk. We also use BrightGauge as well, exactly the way Pete, you know, for clients, for our text, you know, kind of heads up display and things like that. And yeah, it is a Power BI front end, but the benefit to Cognition360 is the reports that I never thought I needed, to be honest with you. You know, you can go through and you can create how many tickets are open, closed, things like that. But when it gets really granular, it really just shows a whole different side of you know, your business, right? And just like I said, there were just reports in there I never thought I needed before. So. Yeah,
and I will say that from my experience with Cognition360, you know, the specific client that I'm thinking about that's using this, they had an issue with presenting to a client who wanted to know why it was taking so long for them to resolve tickets. It was 3.5 days is what the client's feeling was, right? The average resolve time was 3.5 days. Well, that was the average time from enter to close, right? So that's one way to look at it. The issue was that the ticket was sitting for 3 of those 3.5 days, was something like that, let's say, in waiting on client status, right? Well, you know, if you know the ConnectWise database, the SLA status, the escalation status, you know, they're grouped. There's four groups, or I think there's 4 groups. And so Cognition360 was able to build a report for them that's basically pulling in how long a ticket stays in a given specific ticket status, right? So the ability to get down to that audit trail level of information and build that up. So that I think what the one huge difference in the reports from my perspective is the knowledge, the the ConnectWise managed database knowledge that Cognition360 has. I don't know, Perry, I don't know if you can comment on that.
Yeah, that's actually one of the other notes I had written down. What it's actually shown us, because I mentioned some customizable things, but we've really just used it kind of as is. What it has shown us is we need to do better. We need to have better data cleanliness and use different triggers within ConnectWise that we weren't using. We dabbled in, and I could use the wrong term, sorry, I'm not a ConnectWise guru, ticket type, subtype, something else. And then we had other areas within product sets that we didn't leverage. We didn't always leverage the manufacturer. Well, there was never really a reason before, but now we have such detailed reporting that I can go in and say, I sell this many Cisco 9400 switches, and these are the 47 accounts. And I mean, we just were never able, again, I keep saying it, we were never going to get to that granular of a level before. Now we're actually, I would say, much more of a data clean environment because of what Cognition can provide just out of the box for us.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the hardest part about implementing the tool isn't implementing Cognition360. It's all of the bad data or the dirty data that you talked about, Bjorn, originally, that you have to go back and spend the time to evaluate and clean up so that you can trust the data, right? And
that was all of our work.
Right.
Yeah. I would agree. And Dennis, it sounds like you're nodding your head as well. I mean, I think what was your experience the first time you laid eyes on your data and through the Cognition360 lens, Dennis? I mean, did you have that same feeling of dirty data?
Not 100%, because we were already we were using Breakage, and we still are, but I was using Breakage for a lot of the reporting and things. So we were already had that foundation built.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so the what I think is really cool, and I talk to folks that I why Cognition360, and one is like, look, don't take my word for it, just give them the access to your database on a sign the NDA, sign all that stuff, and let them pull your data. They'll connect, they'll pull your data, and it's all floated, and then you can look at it, right, and see your data through their report set, right? It's a picture's worth 1,000 words, or data is worth 1,000 whatevers, bitcoins, I guess, these days. But yeah, so yeah, good stuff. Christy, any other questions that I'm missing?
No, I think you guys have just about answered pretty much everything that's come in, a lot around Breakage. And I hear that a lot, when I'm first talking to people, like, well, how are you different than Breakage? I've been in the MSP space for 20 years. We use Breakage at my last MSP as well. And I look at Breakage is a great dashboarding tool, and it's very good at it. Cognition360 is an analytical reporting tool. I was the one sitting behind my desk at 9 o'clock at night trying to pull reports out of Report Writer and everything else. And with Cognition, you're able to get that snapshot data you need. You're able to do that drill through. You're able to quickly see, what clients do I need to focus on. The historical data is huge, kind of like Perry was saying, like which clients have had or bought this product over the past 3 years. It's data at your fingertips. That's pretty quick to get to. So I'm super happy to show anybody kind of a sample demo if you're interested in that. Also, remember our special. I put my email in the chat for you. I know we're kind of over time a little bit, so thanks for hanging in there with us. And again, to all our panelists and to Bjorn, you're always amazing. Thank you so much for being our moderator again on this. We're trying to do about 3 of these partner panels a year, so be on the lookout for the next one. I think it's really important for peers to hear from other peers as to why they're using the product and how they're using the product. So thanks again, guys, and thanks to everyone who has joined today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christy. All right, take care.
Bye-bye.